So the part one of this video, if you haven't watched it yet, is basically about how you have to make light of your past traumas or the grief that you haven't got over. And I said there was a part two to this process. Once you've discovered all the problems of your past and the things that have made an impression on your life at the present moment, which obviously becomes your future, there's a part two that you must learn. And you have to remember, if everything that ever happened to you in the past made an impression of your mind and a memory that stayed with you and not always gave you a positive outcome, a positive lesson to learn, you must realise that in your present moment, even though you're doing all that great work of the past, you're also a present person still experiencing occasional traumas, occasional sort of sidewinders coming in to affect you. Now, you could do all the work on the past and then you will end up getting a new set of traumas day by day because you're still working on the old you and you're thinking that that's okay because in 5 years' time I'll go through it. The trick and the sort of life hack is to now know your mind makes an impression on every experience. And if you view this as a traumatic event, something that makes you uncomfortable, if you react to something in the present moment, you're going to make this a massive impression. It will stop you getting the job that you want, it'll stop you getting into relationships that you want, it'll stop you enjoying life the way that you want to. It's crucial because it's the part of the now. And if you feel at peace and calm and can get hold of your thoughts in the present moment, and you can imprint that on your own mind with a little bit of, right, this experience happened, I don't want it to happen again. However, the reason it happened is because this and this. If you can start to work out and put the impression in your own mind of, well, next time this happens, I'm going to be stronger in this department. I'm going to have more confidence to speak up for myself in this place, and I'm going to set myself boundaries in the next relationship I'm going to have. And all these things that are positive impressions. So when you do the two parts of this, what you actually get is a you that now experiences life like everybody else, but you're almost one step ahead. You kind of know the game. Doesn't mean you can master the game. This is a little bit further down the line, but it means you're aware of first of all, the way your mind works. And the way your mind works, especially to something, and I would argue, not just negative stuff. You could have a really positive thing happen, like somebody could give you some money, somebody could give you a car. You could have this really big high, and you could get lost in wanting that high over and over again. And the rest of life will always feel uncomfortable to you because you're not hitting this high that you want to hit. Now again, to me, that's just the same as the low. You're chasing a sort of impression to be imprinted on your soul that you think makes you who you are. And the fact is, through understanding the mind and the way it works and thoughts and the way that you can almost slow time down to enjoy every moment, dependent on what's going on, regardless of outcomes, you realise then that the highs and lows are conditions of an environment that you've always been accustomed to, and it doesn't have to exist any longer. It means you can handle stuff without this high and low emotion. Now, I suffered with bipolar, where I can be super hyper, constantly sending videos to people trying to make them laugh and be silly, and I can go the opposite very quickly. Sometimes within a moment of hours I could change this mood and completely flip. This is labelled as bipolar. For me, I view it more as a sort of human trait that I have. I have the ability to be hyper and I have the ability to be low. That is something that I personally control. Now, how would I control that if this bipolar thing takes hold of me and it's a symptom that I've got? How can you say I control it? Well, I believe, and I've seen through the work that I've done, that I control this through inner dialogue. I control this with what I project onto reality. You see, things happen all the time, and I'm not going to use the word thing, I'm going to use the word, there's a certain set of features that always happen that I have no control over. It's impossible to get a job I want to get. It's impossible to make somebody happy if they don't want to be happy. It is impossible to change somebody in a conversation that's saying something that's making me feel uncomfortable. I can't control that, but what I can control is the inner dialogue that I can say to myself in the experience of that. And this is where we get into this territory now, which I think that people don't really grasp. And it's mindfulness. It's being aware that you're not just the experiencer. You're not just the person that, oh, this happened and I reacted like this and I had every right to do that, because don't you think I'm right to do that? Do you know what? No, you're not. You're never valid really in anything that you do. You're always just desiring an outcome that fits your perfect story. And this is why we fight, this is why we argue, this is why it's very hard to get anybody to agree. This is why you need referendums, this is why you need a vote, this is why you have two different opinions. It's this egoic mind that separates, and the separation in an egoic mind is where we get race from. It's where we get basically modern day tribes, where someone has a political view and that's right, left wing, right wing. I'd even go down to a football fan. A football fan may support a separate team, but is in a tribe of football following fans when he follows, let's say, England. It's all just an animal, tribal sort of instinct that we have, and it's purely egoic separation. And in there, the only thing with that outcome, because we can't ever agree, because we can't get out of that egoic separation, is the reason we have wars, the reason why people get murdered, the reason why people kill themselves. We are lost with our own greatest sort of thing we could ever have, this mind that has these nerves and these networks that make us experience a great experience, which is just being alive. Even the fact that we have the ability of egoic separation is amazing. But we can have morals and values to see that it doesn't have to involve destruction. Now, I'd like to use animals as a sort of example. Animals can attack their fellow animal. Two alpha male apes could fight each other, and could fight each other to the death for the hierarchy of the pack. Now, they do not know they don't have to do this. They haven't got the mind to consider that, hold on a sec, maybe we could have a 100-metre sprint and the first alpha male, the quickest, becomes the leader. That way nobody dies. Now, animals can't do this. My argument is a human being can. A human being can say to somebody, okay, we've got this egoic separation of different opinions and views. I believe in this philosophy in life and you don't. We can now go to war because I want my belief to be to overcome the whole of the population, because otherwise I'd be alien to certain groups and tribes, and really I want to be the alpha male or alpha female of the whole world, and that's basically what everybody is saying. Further down, further inside, if you dig deeper, they just say, I want to be God. And the egoic mind says, I want to be God that has rules, that makes flags, that has the uniform, that has the big Nazi red curtains. And what I'm saying is humans, advanced humans with mindfulness, with knowledge, with the ability to be aware that we don't need this, can tell people we don't need that, and we can form another solution. Now, I've seen a very good talker at the moment, a motivational sort of speaker called Sam Harris, recently have an argument, and he's under the impression that his argument is right. Religion isn't true, and the whole world doesn't need religion, and the quicker it's gone, the less war that we're going to have. And there'll be people out there who see that certain people with faith do drive their planes or hijack planes into buildings and blow themselves up and kill people for drawing cartoons. And of course, don't forget, Christianity have blood on their hands too, and are rife with horrible darkness like child abuse and stuff like that. So it's not just separating one religion, it's every religion. But the problem with that is that still is him attached to this egoic separation. To say that one single thing doesn't exist and this is the way the world is fine for him and anybody who believes in that, but it alienates everybody else who doesn't believe it and can't see it. And the trick and the greatest message for anybody is you can keep your God as long as you've got the right morals and values, as long as you interpreted the old philosophy in a way that doesn't kill anybody, it doesn't make you have ill health, and it doesn't make you brainwash children to mass genocide, then we can do this. We can have the gods. We can live on a planet with loads of different religions. We can have the egoic separation as long as we're aware it's exactly that. It's your choice, and you're doing it without ever trying to get anybody else to believe in it, and without ever killing anybody who doesn't believe it. And there lies the peace on planet Earth that we've always considered. But just the reason I've mentioned that is because at the furthest end of the scale of consciousness, that's what is achievable for mankind. Personal, every individual has to go through this process themselves, and it starts with being aware you're just an experience at a present moment, and your mind creates impressions that last forever, and that's what destroys you. That's the dark shadow that Carl Jung was on about. And I hope that it didn't get too deep there, because it's a good point, and I don't want to lose it with getting too technical with the whole of the world, but that's the consequences if we start to master simple mindfulness that people just laugh about at the moment as if it's not needed. But it's needed on any level, every level of your mental health, even your physical health. There's stories about people that can use mindfulness after they've learnt about it to walk again, or to not have anxiety attacks and physical problems that they always thought was just a physical separation. So this is crucial stuff, and to me it makes just perfect common sense because I've experienced it and I've seen it happen. I don't think enough people have, and that's where you're stuck. You're stuck in the darkness, and the light's always there. You can't have darkness without the light being there, because otherwise it would just constantly be dark, and then you wouldn't call it darkness because there'd be no light to gauge what darkness was. So it's an important lesson to learn, and I hope that I haven't waffled on too much.